Once upon a Christmas Eve, I found myself in a small, forgotten town blanketed in snow. The air was frigid, and the only sound was the soft crunch of my boots on the icy ground. I had heard whispers about this place, about the legend of an old, abandoned mansion that hid a sinister secret. Curiosity led me to the decaying mansion at the edge of town. Its windows were shattered, and the wind howled through the empty halls. As I stepped inside, a chill ran down my spine, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The air inside was thick with the scent of decay, and my breath formed icy clouds in front of me. In the dim light, I noticed a flickering glow coming from a room down the hall. Drawn to it like a moth to a flame, I cautiously approached. The room was adorned with dilapidated Christmas decorations. Tattered stockings hung from the fireplace, and a rotting tree stood in the corner, its branches twisted like gnarled fingers. The flickering light came from a single candle on a table covered in dusty photographs. As I examined the pictures, I realized they were of families celebrating Christmas, their faces frozen in forced smiles. But as I looked closer, I noticed a pattern. Every family had one member missing, a mother, a father, a child, all gone without a trace. A sudden creak echoed through the house, making me jump. I turned to see the shadows dancing along the walls, and my heart pounded in my chest. The atmosphere grew heavier, as if the very walls were closing in on me. Ignoring the unsettling feeling, I continued exploring the mansion. Each room revealed more about the families who once lived there. Abandoned toys lay scattered on the floor, and faded letters hinted at the despair that had consumed this place. The wind outside howled louder, and the temperature dropped even more. I could feel the icy fingers of the supernatural tightening around me. But curiosity pushed me forward, deeper into the mansion's secrets. In a forgotten room on the upper floor, I stumbled upon a locked door covered in strang markings. The air in this room was stifling, and the temperature plummeted as I approached. I fumbled with the lock, my breath visible in the cold air. As the door creaked open, a gust of freezing wind rushed out, extinguishing the candlelight. In the darkness, I could make out a figure standing in the corner. It was a woman, her face obscured by long, tangled hair. "Who are you?" I stammered, my voice barely audible. The woman didn't respond. Instead, she pointed to an old, dusty mirror on the wall. Reluctantly, I turned to face my reflection, only to find that it wasn't my own. In the mirror, I saw the missing members of the families from the photographs, their eyes hollow, their faces etched with sorrow. A chilling realization washed over me. The mansion fed on the despair of those who had lost their loved ones during Christmas. It trapped their spirits, forcing them to relive the holiday over and over, their pain and longing becoming a malevolent force that seeped into every corner. The temperature continued to drop, and the walls seemed to close in further. Whispers filled the air, the tormented voices of the trapped souls pleading for release. I stumbled back, desperate to escape the suffocating grip of the mansion. As I rushed down the creaking staircase, the air grew thicker with each step. The flickering candle in the Christmas room had transformed into a ghostly flame that cast eerie shadows across the walls. The voices intensified, merging into a haunting chorus that reverberated through the entire house. I burst through the front door, gasping for breath as the icy air stung my lungs. The moment I stepped outside, the mansion groaned behind me, and the entire structure collapsed into itself with a deafening roar. The echoes of the trapped spirits faded away, leaving only the howling wind and the desolate town in its wake. I stumbled through the snow-covered streets, my heart still racing from the horrors I had witnessed. As I looked back at the remnants of the mansion, a single forlorn ornament rolled out from the rubble. It was a cracked Christmas bauble, its colors faded and its once festive sparkle extinguished. In that quiet town, where Christmas had gone horribly wrong, I carried the weight of the chilling tale with me. The memory of those lost souls in the malevolent mansion would forever haunt my Christmases, a reminder that some stories are better left untold, and some places are better left abandoned. The air was crisp with the scent of pine, and the twinkling lights adorned houses like festive jewelry, It was Christmas Eve, a night meant for warmth, laughter, and family. Our little home glowed with holiday cheer, but little did we know that the merriment would soon turn into a nightmare. Our family tradition was to gather around the Christmas tree, exchange gifts, and revel in each other's company. This year was no different. My parents, my younger sister Emily, and I all sat in the cozy living room, surrounded by the glow of colored lights. The fire crackled in the fireplace, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The excitement was palpable as we exchanged gifts, each wrapped in shiny paper and adorned with bows. I couldn't wait to see the joy on my family's faces when they opened my carefully chosen presents. Little did I know, the true horror was lurking in the innocently wrapped packages. As the clock struck midnight, we heard a faint jingling sound coming from the chimney. My parents exchanged puzzled glances, but we dismissed it as the whimsical magic of Christmas. After all, Santa was known for his unconventional entry methods. However, the jingling persisted, growing louder and more ominous. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine, but I brushed it off as paranoia. Maybe it was just a stray cat or some misplaced decorations. We continued with our gift exchange, trying to drown out the unsettling noise. With each torn piece of wrapping paper, the atmosphere in the room grew heavier. It was as if an unseen presence had settled among us, casting a shadow over our holiday cheer. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. As Emily unwrapped a box adorned with a blood-red bow, her eyes widened in horror. Inside was a doll, its porcelain face frozen in a sinister grin. Its eyes seemed to follow us, and a chill swept through the room. I looked at my parents, expecting them to share in our unease, but they remained oblivious to the eerie presence. The jingling sound reached a deafening crescendo, drowning out the Christmas carols playing softly in the background. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as I realized that whatever was making that noise was now in the room with us. Suddenly, the lights flickered and went out, plunging us into darkness. Panic set in as we fumbled for flashlights and candles. The air felt thick with malevolence, and I could sense a presence moving in the shadows. A guttural voice whispered from the blackness, sending shivers down my spine. "You've been naughty," it hissed, each word dripping with malice. I clutched Emily's hand, trying to reassure her, but the darkness seemed to swallow us whole. As the lights flickered back to life, the room was no longer the warm, familiar space we knew. The walls were adorned with twisted ornaments resembling grotesque faces. The once cheerful Christmas tree now stood tall, its branches adorned with sharp, metallic objects instead of ornaments. My heart raced as I realized the true horror of our situation. We were no longer in control of our home. Something malevolent had taken over. The doll, now perched on the mantelpiece, cackled with a chilling laughter that echoed through the room. Desperation clawed at my chest as I searched for an escape. The windows were sealed shut, and the front door wouldn't budge. We were trapped in this nightmarish version of our home, at the mercy of whatever dark force had invaded our Christmas. The jingling sound returned, louder than ever, and the air was filled with the stench of decay. Shadows danced on the walls, contorting into grotesque shapes that seemed to mock us. I clung to the hope that this was just a twisted dream, but the pain of the cold wind against my skin told me otherwise. As the clock struck 3, a sinister figure emerged from the shadows. Dressed in tattered red and white, it resembled a distorted version of Santa Claus. Its face, hidden beneath a hood, exuded pure malevolence. The doll on the mantelpiece laughed in harmony with this twisted Santa, creating a symphony of horror. "You've all been very naughty," the figure rasped, its voice sending shivers down my spine. It pointed a gnarled finger at each of us, and with each accusation, the room seemed to close in on us. I clutched Emily even tighter, praying for this nightmare to end. The room pulsated with a sinister energy as the figure advanced, its footsteps echoing like a death knell. The doll's laughter reached a fever pitch, blending with the ghastly sound emanating from the chimney. In a final act of terror, the figure raised its arms, and the walls seemed to close in. The twisted ornaments on the tree rattled, and the lights flickered in a chaotic dance. I closed my eyes, bracing for the inevitable. When I opened them again, we were back in our cozy living room. The Christmas tree sparkled with warmth, and the jingling sound had vanished. My parents and Emily sat around me, exchanging puzzled glances. It was as if the nightmare had never happened. I clutched Emily's hand, still feeling the residue of fear lingering in the air. Was it a hallucination, a shared nightmare, or a glimpse into a malevolent dimension that existed alongside our own? The doll on the mantelpiece stared at us with its lifeless eyes, its sinister grin, a chilling reminder of the horrors we had experienced. As we cautiously resumed our Christmas celebration, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The warmth of family time now carried a haunting undercurrent, a lingering fear that Christmas would never be the same again. It was Christmas Eve, and excitement filled the air as my friends and I gathered at my house for our annual holiday celebration. The tree sparkled with lights, and the aroma of cookies and hot cocoa wafted through the air. Little did we know that this Christmas would be unlike any other. As the night grew darker, we decided to play a game called Secret Santa in the dark. The rules were simple. Each person would be blindfolded, and we had to guess who our Secret Santa was based on their voice and a mysterious gift they'd give us in the dark. It sounded like harmless fun, a way to add a spooky twist to our festive gathering. We turned off all the lights, plunging the room into darkness. Giggles and laughter echoed as we blindfolded ourselves, eagerly anticipating the thrill of the game. I felt a shiver run down my spine, but I brushed it off as the chilly winter air. The first round began, and I heard the rustling of wrapping paper as someone handed me a gift. The voice was disguised, and I couldn't place it. The gift felt strange in my hands, cold and damp. When I unwrapped it, my heart skipped a beat. A weathered, ancient-looking doll stared back at me with empty eyes. Nervous laughter erupted from the group, and I tried to shake off the unease. "Very funny, guys," I said, pretending to be unfazed. But deep down, a seed of fear had been planted. As the game continued, the atmosphere grew more unsettling. The voices became distorted, and the gifts became increasingly eerie. One friend received a cracked mirror that seemed to reflect shadows that weren't there. Another got a music box that played a haunting melody, out of tune and unsettling. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, that there was a presence in the room beyond our playful festivities. The air grew colder, and I could almost hear whispers in the darkness. During a particularly tense round, I felt a hand on my shoulder. The touch was cold and skeletal, sending a chill down my spine. I ripped off my blindfold, but no one was near me. The room was silent, except for the distant sound of the wind howling outside. My friends were equally spooked, but we convinced ourselves it was just our imaginations running wild. We decided to end the game and turn on the lights, eager to dispel the growing unease. But when the room was illuminated once more, the atmosphere didn't lighten. The ancient doll I had received was now positioned in the center of the room, its eyes glowing faintly. A collective gasp escaped our lips as we realized that none of us had placed it there. The cracked mirror had multiplied, and the room was filled with unsettling reflections that seemed to move independently of us. Panic set in as we struggled to make sense of the increasingly bizarre and terrifying events. We heard strange noises, footsteps that didn't belong to any of us, whispers that seemed to crawl up from the dark corners of the room. Desperation led us to search for an explanation, and we stumbled upon an old photo album hidden away in a dusty corner. As we flipped through the pages, horror gripped us. The pictures showed scenes from a Christmas long ago, but the faces were distorted and ghostly. The more we looked, the more we realized that the eerie occurrences mirrored the events in the photographs. The air grew thick with fear as we understood that we had awakened something that wanted to relive its own twisted version of Christmas. The doll, the mirror, the whispers, they were all manifestations of a long-buried darkness. In a state of terror, we attempted to leave the house, only to find that the doors were sealed shut. The windows were blackened, and an otherworldly force seemed to hold us captive. The haunting melody from the music box grew louder, drowning out our panicked cries. As the night wore on, the malevolent presence became more tangible. Shadows danced on the walls, taking sinister shapes, and the temperature dropped to bone-chilling levels. We huddled together, our breath visible in the frigid air, as we faced the horrifying reality that we were not alone. The distorted voices in the dark whispered tales of tragedy and loss, and we realized that we were trapped in a twisted time loop, forced to relive a Christmas nightmare. The ghostly figures from the photographs seemed to materialize, their eyes hollow and filled with an insatiable hunger for the joy we had stolen from them. In our desperate attempt to break free, we stumbled upon a faded holiday card. The message within spoke of forgiveness and redemption, and as a last-ditch effort, we whispered words of repentance into the icy abyss that surrounded us. Miraculously, the oppressive darkness began to lift, the malevolent whispers faded, and the ghastly figures retreated. The room slowly returned to normal, the haunted artifacts losing their sinister glow. As dawn broke on Christmas morning, we found ourselves standing outside my house, shaken but alive. The once ominous doll lay harmless on the doorstep, the cracked mirror restored to its original state. We never spoke of that terrifying Christmas again, but the memory of the otherworldly horror haunted our dreams. The experience left us with a newfound appreciation for the warmth and joy of the holiday season, a stark reminder that even in the darkest moments, the light of forgiveness and redemption can prevail.